The last time we discussed on my experiences with assisting with raising children, I remember I did mention that in another episode that we were going to talk about temperament and the mistakes I made. Now this recording is impromptu. I just noticed that there's a window of opening where I can actually do a noiseless recording, and I thought I should probably throw this in with the last discussion that we had. And I think the first place to start is to define what temperament is, as it has regard to do with a child. Now, temperament is defined as the emotional and behavioral style that is inborn within a child, and how it influences their reactions or response to situation and interactions with others and the world generally. Now note the word that it is inborn, so it's how they are wired. Now as they begin to grow, it can be improved upon, where their weaknesses are strengthened and they get better by experience, their educational background, by exposure to the things that is different from their personal self, and then with time they begin to recognize those things that they're not good at. They can learn it and improve upon it, such that if you are not too conversant with temperament, when their weaknesses are strengthened, they begin to look like the opposite of their extreme self. And that's where people have the tendency of thinking that their temperaments have changed. The basics don't change, but their weaknesses can't be improved upon. And I think it's also good that we throw it in here alongside also that there are four basic temperaments. You have the melancholy, who is an introvert but not so extreme in introversion, and also they are usually the sensitive and the perfectionists in tendency. They like their T's crossed and their I dotted. So if you have a child that is finicky, want their space, want their things done properly and in order, and keeps to themselves most of the time, enjoys their company, and have what I would call the avoidance syndrome. It's not like it's a disease, then you probably would know that that child has a tendency towards being melancholic. And then you have also the phlegmatic. They are much more reserved than the melancholy. They are slow in response. They are careful. They are not so carefree. And it is experts who say that it's traceable to the phlegm in them, which make them, I don't want to use the word docile, but a little bit calmer and more reserved than the melancholy. I must say this as a note, that they are usually so careful that they try not to get in the way or offend anybody, because they hate apologizing. So they try to do things that won't put them in a situation where they have to be sorry or apologetic. And then you have the extreme extroverted version temperament, with the sanguine, and they are the happy-go-lucky life of the party. They want to make everybody feel good and okay around them, and they're the bubbly, and they dance all over the place. In my own definition, they can sit by themselves. Oftentimes they don't sit still, and they can handle a life without other people well, and they are usually not that careful or organized. But again, I must say that depending on their combination, which we will get to in a bit, they can be a little bit reserved based on a different combination or upbringing. And then we have the last one, but not the least, who is the leader of them all. Very extroverted, but not as bubbly as the sanguine. And this is the choleric. They're the natural born leader. So if you have that child who is outspoken, who usually likes taking the lead, and who wants everybody to do things properly and in order, they are the commander around their space. They are not being forward or being demanding. They are just being themselves. Now, alongside every primary temperament, which is the dominant one, every child is also born with a secondary temperament, and that is the combination. And usually people have 2, but some could have 3. I haven't met anyone that has 4, but like someone is used to saying, I've heard someone say about Jesus, depending on the occasion, he had all the temperament. And that's usually what happened with growth, education, experience, exposure. When people develop their temperament, you find them deploying each temperament as situation would demand, but the basics remain. Now, having said all of that, let's come to my experience. Both of my temperaments are on the reserve side. Both of them. If there's any extrovertish temperament in me, it has to be traceable to one of my temperament that has the tendency to be melodramatic where task or activity is concerned, because it's very illustrative and expressive when it has to explain. But otherwise, there is no extroversion accountable to my temperament. The things that I learn in extroversion, I have in extroversion, I have had to learn. Now, you can imagine what the children that I brought up had to go through with me, because the mistake I made was that I brought them up mostly the way I was. I liked quietness. There is no reason why anybody should make noise. I like order. There is no reason why anybody should be disorganized or be without order. I like structure. So there is no way to be unusually bubbly because I mean life is serious. So what do you have to be bubbly about? So 3 of them were, I wouldn't say unfortunate to enjoy my personal disposition. The 4th one got delivered from me, in that I went to the university when that one was just about 6 months old. So I would say God delivered her from my hand, because she happened to be the bubbly type who like making friends, who is all over the place and who like having her way. Now, I am not aware that the children that I brought up were damaged. No. It's just that they became the more reserved part of themselves. Like the firstborn was actually not that reserved. But in retrospect now, I can see that one of his combination was on the reserve side, because he's not so disorganized as any other unreserved temperament would be. But the 2nd and the 4th were either one or the other of my temperament. I must say, if there's anything to boast about, that as they grew up in the things that they got involved in, they always had to be in the leadership position or not too far from leadership. And they always brought order and structure to the table. Now, it could have been different. So this is my appeal to anyone that has the opportunity to either parent, be a parent, is parenting, has parented, or could parent, to please allow children to be themselves as much as possible. I'm still not guiltless because I like quietness, and I still like children being quiet around me as much as possible, you know. Now, but I must appeal in retrospect that we should allow children to be themselves as much as possible. That's the only way they can develop to give their best, and God will help us. And it also helps for us as people that are parenting in whatever capacity. You're an aunt, you're an uncle, you are an older cousin, you are an older sibling, you're actually a parent or a grandparent, to pay attention to the temperament of a child. That is the only way you can help them be their best, and also help them strengthen their weaknesses as much as possible. And as soon as they are able to answer questions, help them to take their temperament test so that they can also have an understanding of themselves and an appreciation of the people around them. I didn't intend this recording to be this long because I want you to listen to everything and also appreciate and learn or reinforce what you already know. So I'm going to stop right here. Thank you for being here. It's been wonderful sharing this with you, and I hope my experience helps someone too. God bless you.